Oh, hey, didn't see you guys there. Yes, the people, Van Falski here, back at it again with another YouTube video. Only this time, it's gonna be a little bit different. We're gonna be talking about joint health. What specifically? We're gonna be doing controlled articular rotations. Short for cars, okay? Basically, all that is we're gonna be articulating each joint through a full range of motion under control. The reason why I'm doing this video, it's a highly requested video from all the people I've been working with in person. So I decided to make it in digital format. That way you can go at your own pace, rewatch this video as many times as you can. That way you can get the joint routine down yourself, okay? So without further ado, we're gonna get right into it, all right guys? But first, so that way this video is not 2 years long, there's gonna be timestamps below. First thing what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the full joint routine, one piece at a time, and after the video is done, you can skip forward if you want to check out why we do this joint routine, okay? So, we're gonna get started with the neck, get right into it. But in order to get this joint routine down the right way, we need to understand one concept, and that is irradiation. Basically, that just means tension throughout the body, okay? So, we're gonna start out with the neck, and the thing about it is we only wanna move the neck. And the way we do that is we flex throughout the rest of our body. But as we do this joint routine, don't go full behemoth mode and just flex the entire body. Just a nice little gentle 20% pressure, okay? That way when we're only rotating that joint, we're only moving that joint. So we're gonna begin with the neck motion, all right? And as we do the neck motion, if you feel any closing or joint pain with any joint, you wanna try to avoid it because you don't wanna fight through pain, all right? So let's begin. We're going to irradiate tension throughout the rest of our body. First motion of the neck flexion, okay? Chin to chest, we're gonna rotate right, look over that shoulder, dip the ear down, trace the ceiling with our nose, look over that left shoulder, back into flexion. Now we're gonna rotate the opposite way. We're gonna rotate left, chin is still tucked in flexion, dip the ear back in neck extension, trace the ceiling with the nose, rotate, look over the opposite shoulder, back into flexion. So a quick side angle of the neck card we're gonna go through is, yet again, once again, chin to chest, rotate to the right shoulder, dip the ear down, trace the ceiling with the nose, look over that opposite shoulder, back into flexion, and then the opposite way. Rotate left, dip the ear down, trace the ceiling with the nose, opposite shoulder, chin to chest. So next up, we have the thoracic card, okay? So how we're gonna do that is we're going to cross the body with our arms, okay? Create a little bit of tension in the hands on the shoulders, okay? Now, we're gonna chin to chest, and we're gonna just round the upper back, okay? So the way that looks like to the side, it's kind of like a crunch, all right? So, same motion as the neck. We're going to round down, we're going to rotate right, okay? Dip that shoulder back into spine extension, trace the ceiling, rotate, look over the left foot, back in the start position. Gonna go the opposite way, rotate left, dip that shoulder back, spine extension, trace the ceiling, rotate to the right, look down at the foot, back in the start position. So the way that looks like to the side is, once again, rounding the upper back, rotating right, look over that foot, back in the spine extension, trace the ceiling, rotate to the left, look over the foot, back to the start, and reverse. Rotate left, shoulder goes down, trace the ceiling, look down at that right foot, back and front. So the next one is probably gonna be the hardest one. It's spinal segmentation. So the best thing to do to practice this is you're gonna wanna grab a friend. Oh, Jacob, hey, you can help me with spinal segmentation. So I'll be going on the table in quadruped position, okay? And the first thing we need to understand is the motion of the spine in this position. So we have flexion, and we have extension. But when we do this, we're gonna articulate each individual part of the spine one at a time. So we're gonna start out in flexion, and I'm gonna have Jay give me feedback at the lower part of my back, okay? So we're gonna start going in extension at the lower back, then transfer into the middle of the back, then to the upper, and then lastly, the neck. So now we're in extension. We're going to go the opposite way, flexion, starting at the lower back. Jacob's going to give you feedback. We're going to tuck the pelvis underneath, moving our way up to the middle of the back, upper, and then lastly, chin to chest. And that's spinal segmentation. So next we have the shoulder. So with this, I like to give feedback on my spine. So what I do is I take one hand, cross it on my chest. Now, I take the other hand, and we're gonna supinate, bring the fingers together, all right? And throughout this motion, you wanna try your best to keep the elbow extended. So we're gonna start off by adducting in. You might feel a slight chest cramp, that is okay. We're gonna go all the way up into shoulder flexion. As we go into shoulder flexion, that pinky's gonna go forward. Now, we're gonna internally rotate the shoulder. So now notice the pinky's back. And as we go back in shoulder extension, we're gonna keep dipping that thumb down all the way, and then we're gonna tuck it in our pocket. Now notice the pinky is forward, okay? Now we're gonna go into shoulder extension. We're gonna externally rotate the shoulder all the way back up into shoulder flexion, and we're gonna come back in. And so the way the shoulder car looks like to the side is, yet again, I like giving feedback on my chest with the opposite arm, okay? We're going to supinate the hand, keep the fingers together, adduct in, all the way back up into shoulder flexion. The pinky's gonna go forward, internally rotate the shoulder. We're gonna keep dipping it back in shoulder extension, keep rotating that thumb down, tuck it in the pocket. Now the pinky's gonna be forward. We're gonna go straight back into shoulder extension, externally rotate, back up into shoulder flexion, and back forward. And now the same applies to do on the opposite side with the other shoulder. So next we have the scapula. So with this, you want to put the hands to the side and extend the elbows throughout this whole motion. We're going to start out protracting the shoulder blades forward, elevate, shrug up, retract, depress down. We're going to go the opposite way. We're going to retract, elevate, protract, depress down. And so the way this looks to the side is, once again, keep the hands to the side, extend the elbows. We're going to protract, elevate, shrug up, retract, depress down. The opposite way, retract, elevate, protract, depress down. Next we have the elbow. So with the elbow, we want to supinate the hands, keep the fingers in, and the first motion you want to understand is supination and pronation. So be aware, on the inside of my elbow, my bicep is still looking forward as I alternate in those two motions. So supinate, pronate. Now we're going to start with supination. We're going to curl up, go into pronation, extend back down. Now reverse, up, curl and pronation. Now supinate, extend back down. And so the way this looks like to the side is we're going to supinate, keep the elbows in, curl up, pronate, extend back down, supinate, curl up, pronate, extend back down. So with the wrist, I like to tell people to do this one at a time because it is a little bit tricky. We're going to supinate the hand, and you always want to look at the palm of your hand. So what I tell people is imagine your iPhone is in the hand and you don't want to drop it. So we're going to start out in extension, evert away, up in the flexion, into inversion. Back in extension. We're going to now reverse the other way. We're going to go in extension, invert, flexion, evert, back in extension. So the way that looks to the side, we're going to do both hands this time, is we're going to extend, evert, go into flexion, inversion, back in extension, go the opposite way. Starting from extension, inversion, flexion, eversion. Back there. So now that the upper body's done, we're going to move to the lower body. We're going to start out with the hip. But with this, we're going to need a little bit of support, so I'll be using a dowel rod as I do this. So now we're going to extend one hand out, and we're going to radiate some tension throughout our body. Now, I'm going to start out with the left leg. We're going to create some balance on the right leg. We're going to start out in adduction, basically trying to bring that foot to the chest, okay? Drive the knee up. Now, next motion, hip flexion. okay? Now, external rotation, opening up the hip. Internal rotation, try to keep that knee high as much as possible. You might feel a slight cramp back here, that is okay. We're going to now go back in the hip extension, squeeze the glute back towards the midline. All right, now the opposite motion. So we're going to bring the knee up a little bit, crunch on the abs, squeeze back in the hip extension. We're gonna bring the knee and foot out away from the body at the same time. We're gonna bring that foot under, back in external rotation. Keep that knee up into hip flexion, back into adduction, and forward. So next up we have the knee. I like to be seated as I do this. And we're gonna start out by taking one hand, bringing it underneath the hamstring because we're gonna need to elevate the foot off the ground, okay? Now, next motion is we're going to dorsiflex the ankle, point the toe to the knee. And what I like to do is, I like to just feel the kneecap to get some feedback with my other hand. Now, we're going to externally rotate the knee, extend 2/3 up, do not lock out, internally rotate, hamstring curl back down. So we're gonna go the opposite way. We're gonna start out in internal rotation, extend 2/3 up, external rotation, hamstring curl back down. Next we have the patella. This one's a little bit strange because you have to manually do this one yourself. So what you wanna start out with doing is you wanna relax the quad and you're gonna grab your kneecap in the four corners, kind of like a square. Okay, so with this is, we're just basically gonna go down, to the right, up, and then in towards the body. Yet again, so we're gonna go the opposite way. We're gonna go down, in towards the body, up, and out, and then back down. So you get a better view of this, we're gonna do a close-up. So, like I said, once again, we're gonna grab the four corners of the patella. We're gonna go down, away from the body, up, in towards the body, back down, and then the opposite way. So down, in, up, out, down. Next, we have the ankle. So I like the same position as the knee, basically bringing one arm through the hamstring, and I like to grab with my other hand around my ankle to kind of give me some feedback because we're only going to be moving the ankle as we do this. So we're going to start out in plantar flexion, evert away, up into dorsiflexion, and then invert towards the body, back into plantar flexion. So we're gonna go the opposite way, invert, flexion, evert, extension. And lastly, we have the toes. But for this one, we do have to go barefoot mode. So we're gonna bring our feet together, and what this is, you want to start out with the big toe, okay? So you just wanna raise the big toes up, back down. One more time, big toes up, back down. Now, the big toe is gonna stay down, and you wanna bring the four fingers up, four fingers back down. So, 4 fingers up, 4 fingers back down, 4 fingers up, 4 fingers back down. And that is the toe card.
So Bam, you look so emotional.
Dude, it's because all these people, they keep coming up with me with all these joint problems and all these names and gadgets and things they come up with doctors, and you know, they can't live their life properly, and I'm just trying to help everyone out here, man.
So why should we be doing these car routines?
I'm glad you asked that, Jacob. So the biggest thing with cars is, let me bring this back into hunter-gatherer days, but don't worry, not too much crazy science. Human beings are meant to be hunter-gatherers. Basically, our great-great-great-whatever grandfather woke up every day and he was just like, you know what, I'm gonna have to hunt and gather some food. What did that require? That required a lot of joint motions throughout the entire day. Basically, no single 1-rep motions, just a variety of movements throughout the day. And as time progressed, human beings became more and more specialized. What that means is we sat at desks more now, we worked in factories, basically single plane motions and movements all day. And what's happened as a result of that? Well, because of all that, we've experienced a lot more joint problems. So the joint routine basically is just, it's like brushing your teeth with each joint, okay? We're just teaching our body, hey, these motions still exist even though we don't need to use them pretty much day to day, because sitting at a desk, it's not too difficult, okay? But by doing continuous brushing your teeth of the joints, we keep those joints nice and fresh and help them remain in longevity mode throughout our whole lives.